Fernando Alonso, one of the most legendary names in Formula One, shocked the entire paddock during the Miami Grand Prix weekend by making an unexpected yet powerful statement about young Brazilian driver Gabriel Bortoleto. In the midst of a difficult season where Sauber is still stuck at the bottom of the grid, Alonso said bluntly, "He is the rookie with the worst results and the fewest headlines, but he is doing a perfect job." These words, coming from a two-time world champion, are not said lightly, and they completely change the way everyone should look at Bortoleto from now on. Alonso, beyond being an icon on the track, is also Gabriel's manager, which means he follows the young driver's every step closely. This praise is more than just encouragement. It's a public acknowledgement that something special is happening, even if it's not yet visible in the results. It's important to understand the context in which this was said. Gabriel Bortoleto debuted in Formula One with one of the least competitive cars on the grid. Sauber, which is in transition to becoming the official Audi team, still faces serious performance issues with a car that can't keep up with the rest of the field. So what Alonso sees in Bortoleto goes beyond lap times or grid positions. What's at stake here is behavior, attitude, and the consistency of a young driver who, at just 19 years old, already shows the maturity of a veteran. Gabriel hasn't made any major mistakes, doesn't get overwhelmed by pressure, and has been delivering consistent laps, even with the limitations of the C45. That's rare. Many rookies entering Formula One try to prove their worth too quickly, forcing situations and making errors that hurt their careers. But Gabriel has done the opposite. He's building a solid foundation, staying calm, absorbing feedback, working with engineers, and improving race by race. Alonso recognizes this effort because he himself went through similar situations early in his career. He knows what it's like to be in an inferior car and still be expected to deliver. That's why his praise carries so much weight. Furthermore, the fact that Alonso is Bortoleto's manager means he's not just praising a protégé, he's praising someone he truly believes in and is betting on. And that bet makes sense when you look at Gabriel's meteoric rise so far. He was the Formula 3 champion in 2023, moved up to Formula 2 the following year, and quickly stood out again, securing another title. This string of achievements caught the paddock's attention and fast-tracked his promotion to the top tier of motorsport. But as always, Formula One is a much more complex game. The climb can be quick, but adapting to the technical and mental demands of the sport is the real test. And it's exactly at this point that Gabriel is standing out. Even without a competitive car, he's adapting, learning, growing. This hasn't gone unnoticed, not just by Alonso, but also by the entire Sauber team, which praises the confidence he brings even in difficult situations. Alonso's presence as a mentor also makes a huge difference. Having someone at your side who knows every detail of the sport, who has been through every possible phase in Formula One, is a rare privilege. Few rookies have that kind of support, and Gabriel is making the most of it. Another key point is Bortoleto's focus on building a long-term career. He knows that immediate results are important, but not everything. What matters most right now is evolving as a driver, understanding the car, learning from mistakes, and staying mentally strong. This strategic approach shows that he's not in Formula One just to fill a seat, but to leave his mark. Audi, which will soon take full control of the team, is already watching closely to see who can truly deliver consistent results in the future. And by all accounts, Gabriel is putting himself in the right spotlight. He's young, talented, focused, and being guided by one of the sport's all-time greats. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Ferrari garage, a very different story is unfolding. Lewis Hamilton, a 7-time world champion and one of the biggest names in the sport, is facing one of the most challenging phases of his career. After moving from Mercedes to Ferrari, many expected Hamilton to usher in a new era of victories for the Italian team. But what we're seeing in 2025 so far is a frustrated Hamilton, constantly trailing Charles Leclerc and struggling to adapt to the SF25. According to an analysis by Alex Brundle, Formula One commentator and son of former driver Martin Brundle, there's a technical detail in Hamilton's driving style that may be seriously undermining his season. Brundle analyzed telemetry data from recent races and identified a pattern. Hamilton tends to brake more than necessary at the beginning of corners, especially in high-speed sections. This behavior, which worked well with Mercedes cars in previous years, has now become a big problem in the Ferrari. The SF25 is extremely sensitive, especially at the rear, and any excess braking causes immediate instability. Leclerc, on the other hand, is more precise and consistent in this area, allowing him to keep the car more balanced, and as a result, he's faster in both qualifying and races. Hamilton's difficulty lies in adapting a driving style that's been developed over nearly 2 decades. He learned to drive based on feel, on how the car responds to his refined touch. But now the SF25 demands something completely different. Decisions made before entering the corner, based on data rather than instinct. Andrea Stella from McLaren recently commented that modern F1 cars no longer allow for real-time adjustments. Everything needs to be decided beforehand, and that puts pressure on drivers like Hamilton, who have always relied on their ability to correct situations mid-lap. With the Ferrari, any movement outside the ideal window causes the car to react negatively. That requires a complete reconditioning of how he drives, something extremely difficult even for a champion like him. Beyond the technical challenges, there's also a mental factor. Hamilton has shown growing frustration in interviews, often admitting that he doesn't know when things will improve. After the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, for example, he described the situation as painful and confessed that he still can't beat Leclerc in qualifying. That's especially worrying because qualifying pace used to be one of Hamilton's biggest strengths. Today, that advantage has become a weakness. Starting from behind, he has to take more risks in races, which doesn't always pay off and sometimes makes things worse. While Bortoleto progresses in his learning curve with consistency, Hamilton is trying to reinvent himself to remain competitive. And this contrast in trajectories shows just how unforgiving Formula One can be, even for the sport's greatest champions. The truth is, the Ferrari, with its unstable rear and demanding aerodynamics, simply doesn't forgive Hamilton's braking style. Every extra millisecond on the brake pedal can destabilize the car and ruin an entire lap. Leclerc, more integrated with the team and more adapted to the SF25, has a natural advantage in this scenario, but it would be unfair to say Hamilton has no more potential. He's an extremely talented and experienced driver, and if he can adjust his style, he can still make a comeback. The problem is that this adaptation process takes time, something Formula One doesn't always offer. The pressure for results is constant, and each weekend without progress only increases the tension. That's why his situation is becoming increasingly delicate. Meanwhile, Bortoleto continues to grow quietly, without headlines, but with praise from those who truly understand the sport. Alonso isn't just being generous. He sees something real. And if that something continues to evolve,